Chapter 1. The Birth of Ram and Ayodhya. Long ago, in the ancient land of India, there stood a great and beautiful kingdom called Ayodhya. This kingdom was ruled by a wise and noble king named Dashrath. He belonged to the great Ikshvaku dynasty, a royal family known for truth, discipline, and responsibility. Ayodhya was not an ordinary city. Its roads were clean, its markets were full of life, and its people lived in peace and harmony. The kingdom was protected by strong walls and guided by wise ministers and learned sages. Among them was the respected royal teacher sage Vasishtha, who advised the king in matters of dharma and governance. King Dashrath was a brave warrior and a just ruler. He cared deeply for his people and treated them like his own family. But even in this peaceful and prosperous kingdom, the king carried a quiet sorrow in his heart. He had no children. As the years passed, this sorrow grew heavier. Dashrath knew that without a son, the future of the kingdom would remain uncertain. He also wished to pass on his knowledge, his values, and his responsibilities to the next generation. After many thoughts and discussions, the king decided to perform a sacred ritual known as the Putra Kameshthi Yagya. This ritual was meant to bless him with children. For this important ceremony, the great sage Rishyasringa was invited to Ayodhya. On the day of the Yagya, the entire kingdom gathered with hope and devotion. Sacred chants filled the air, and offerings were made into the holy fire. The flames rose high, carrying the prayers of the people towards the heavens. As the ritual reached its final moment, something extraordinary happened. From the sacred fire, a divine being appeared. His presence was calm, powerful, and filled with light. In his hands, he carried a golden bowl filled with a sacred offering called payasam. He gave the bowl to King Dashrath and said that this divine food should be shared among his queens. It would bless them with children who would bring greatness to the world. Dashrath received the bowl with deep respect and carefully divided the sacred offering among his three queens, Kaushalya, Kaikeyi, and Sumitra. Time passed, and soon the palace of Ayodhya was filled with joy. Queen Kaushalya gave birth to a son named Ram. Queen Kaikeyi gave birth to Bharat, and Queen Sumitra gave birth to two sons, Lakshman and Shatrughna. The entire kingdom celebrated. Music filled the streets, and people shared happiness with one another. It felt as if Ayodhya itself had come alive with new energy. Among the four princes, Ram was special. From a very young age, he showed calmness, kindness, and a deep sense of responsibility. His presence brought peace to those around him, and even as a child, he respected elders, listened carefully, and spoke with gentle wisdom. Lakshman, the son of Sumitra, developed a deep bond with Ram and followed him everywhere with complete devotion. Their connection was strong, like two souls walking together. As the princes grew, they were trained in many skills, including archery, sword fighting, and the duties of a king. Under the guidance of sage Vasishtha, they also learned about dharma, truth, and the deeper meaning of life. Ram quickly became known for his strength and discipline, but more than that, he was known for his character. He never acted with pride and always chose the path of righteousness. The people of Ayodhya began to see something special in him. They felt that Ram was not just a prince, but someone destined for a greater purpose. And soon that purpose would begin to unfold when a great sage would arrive at the gates of Ayodhya and take Ram on a journey that would change everything.
Chapter 2. Ram, Vishwamitra and Sita's Swayamvar. Time passed peacefully in the kingdom of Ayodhya, and the four princes grew into young men, strong, disciplined and wise. Among them, Ram stood out for his calm nature and quiet strength. He spoke gently, listened carefully, and carried himself with natural dignity. One day, a great sage arrived at the gates of Ayodhya. His name was Vishwamitra, a powerful and respected sage known across kingdoms for his knowledge and spiritual strength. King Dashrath welcomed him with deep respect, offered him a seat, and asked about the purpose of his visit. Vishwamitra spoke calmly, but his words carried great importance. He explained that he was performing a sacred ritual in the forest, a ritual meant to protect dharma and bring peace to the world. However, powerful demons were disturbing the ritual again and again, destroying it before it could be completed. The sage then made his request, and it surprised everyone in the court. He did not ask for soldiers or weapons. Instead, he asked for Ram. King Dashrath was shocked. Ram was still young, and the king loved him deeply. He could not imagine sending his son into danger. With concern in his voice, Dashrath offered to send his army instead. But Vishwamitra refused. He said that this task could not be done by ordinary warriors, and that Ram alone had the strength and destiny to face this challenge. The king felt fear and confusion, unsure of what to do. At that moment, the wise teacher sage Vasishtha stepped forward. He spoke calmly and advised the king to trust Vishwamitra. He reminded Dashrath that Ram was not an ordinary prince and that his path was guided by a higher purpose. Hearing these words, the king slowly accepted the truth. With a heavy heart, he allowed Ram to go. Lakshman, filled with love and devotion, chose to go with his brother. Together they left Ayodhya and followed Vishwamitra into the forest. The journey was quiet but full of meaning. As they walked through the forest, Vishwamitra began to teach them sacred knowledge, powerful mantras, and the use of divine weapons. Ram listened with full attention and learned with deep focus. Soon they reached a part of the forest filled with danger. There lived a powerful demon named Tataka, who had turned the peaceful forest into a place of fear. The sage asked Ram to face her. Ram stood calm but ready. He understood that protecting dharma sometimes required courage and action. With his skill, discipline and strength, Ram defeated Tataka, and the forest became peaceful once again. After this, Ram and Lakshman protected the sage's ritual. When other demons came to disturb it, they stood firm and defeated them as well. Vishwamitra watched closely and saw not only strength in Ram, but also control, discipline and wisdom. When the ritual was finally completed, the sage felt satisfied. He then decided to take the princes to another kingdom. They began their journey toward Mithila, a land known for its beauty and wisdom, ruled by the noble king Janak. At that time, a great event was about to take place in Mithila, the Swayamvar of Sita, the daughter of King Janak. Sita was known for her beauty, strength and purity of heart. But her marriage had a special condition. In the palace of Mithila, there was a great bow, the bow of Lord Shiva. It was ancient, powerful, and so heavy that no ordinary man could even lift it. The challenge was simple, but nearly impossible. Whoever could lift the bow and string it would win Sita's hand in marriage. Many kings and warriors had already tried, full of pride and confidence, but one by one they had all failed. As Ram entered the kingdom of Mithila, no one knew that this quiet prince from Ayodhya was about to do something that no one had ever done before, and that his destiny was about to unfold.
Chapter 3. The Bow of Shiva and the Marriage of Ram and Sita. The city of Mithila was filled with excitement as kings and warriors from many lands gathered for the great Swayamvar of Sita. The palace of King Janak was beautifully decorated and the air was filled with music, hope and curiosity. Everyone had come with one desire, to win the hand of Sita. At the center of the grand hall rested the sacred bow of Lord Shiva, an ancient and powerful weapon so heavy that even the strongest warriors could not move it. One by one, the king stepped forward with confidence, trying with all their strength, but the bow did not move. Some failed to even lift it, and others lost their balance in the attempt. Slowly, the excitement in the hall turned into silence. King Janak watched everything with growing concern, and a thought began to rise in his mind. He wondered if anyone in the world was truly worthy of his daughter. At that moment, sage Vishwamitra entered the hall with Ram and Lakshman. Their presence was calm yet powerful. King Janak welcomed the sage with respect, and his eyes soon turned toward Ram. There was something different about him, a quiet strength, a natural grace, and a deep sense of peace. Vishwamitra looked at Ram and gently asked him to step forward and see the bow. Ram walked toward it with steady steps, without pride and without fear. He stood before the great bow of Shiva and looked at it with respect. Then, in one smooth movement, Ram lifted the bow. The entire hall was filled with shock. No one had ever seen such strength combined with such ease. With complete control, Ram began to string the bow, but as he bent it, a loud sound echoed through the hall. The bow broke into two parts. The sound spread across Mithila like thunder, and everyone stood still in disbelief. King Janak's heart filled with joy, and all his doubts disappeared. He knew that Ram was the one destined for Sita. Sita, who had been watching quietly, saw in Ram not just strength, but truth, calmness, and purity. With respect and happiness, she walked forward holding a garland in her hands and gently placed it around Rama's neck. The hall came alive with celebration, music played, people smiled, and the moment was filled with joy. The marriage of Ram and Sita was decided. Soon messages were sent to Ayodhya, and King Dashrath arrived in Mithila with great happiness. The wedding was celebrated with grand rituals and deep joy. Ram married Sita, Bharat married Mandavya, Lakshman married Urmila, and Shatrughna married Shrutukirti. The two royal families were united in harmony. After the celebrations, Ram and Sita began their journey back to Ayodhya. Everything seemed perfect, filled with peace, love, and happiness. But far away, a promise made in the past was waiting to return, and it would soon change the course of their lives forever. Chapter 4. The Promise of Kaikeyi and the Beginning of Exile. Ram and Sita returned to Ayodhya, and the entire city was filled with joy. The people welcomed them with love and celebration, and the palace once again became a place of happiness and peace. King Dashrath looked at Ram with pride, seeing in him the perfect king for the future. As time passed, the king made an important decision. He decided to crown Ram as the next king of Ayodhya. The news spread quickly, and the entire kingdom became filled with excitement. Streets were decorated, preparations began everywhere, and people waited with happiness for the special day. But inside the palace, something unexpected was beginning to change. There was a servant named Manthara, who was close to Queen Kaikeyi. When she heard about Rama's coronation, she became worried. She went to Kaikeyi and began to speak carefully, planting small doubts in her mind. She said that if Ram became king, then Kaikeyi and her son Bharat would lose their importance.
At first, Kaikeyi did not believe her. She had always loved Ram like her own son and had never thought in such a way. But Manthara continued to speak, slowly and repeatedly, filling her mind with fear and insecurity. Over time, Kaikeyi's thoughts began to change. Manthara then reminded her of something from the past. Long ago, during a great battle, Kaikeyi had saved King Dashratha's life. At that time, the king had promised her 2 wishes and had said that he would fulfill them whenever she asked. Manthara told her that this was the moment to use those promises. These words changed everything. Kaikeyi went to the king and reminded him of his promise. Dashrath agreed to fulfill her wishes without knowing what she would ask. Then Kaikeyi spoke, and her words struck like thunder. Her first wish was that Bharat should become king of Ayodhya. Her second wish was that Ram should go into exile for 14 years. King Dashrath was shocked. His heart broke at that moment. He could not believe what he had just heard. He tried to change her mind. He begged her, he pleaded with her, but Kaikeyi remained firm. She remained firm in her decision. Dashrath felt helpless. A promise once given could not be broken. With deep sorrow he called Ram. When Ram heard the decision, he remained calm. There was no anger, no complaint, only acceptance. He said that if this was his father's promise, then it was his duty to follow it. Without hesitation, Ram agreed to leave Ayodhya. When Sita heard this, she made her decision immediately. She said that she would go wherever Ram went. She refused to stay behind. Lakshman also stepped forward, his voice full of devotion. He said that he would go with Ram and serve him in the forest. Nothing could separate them. Soon the time came to leave. The people of Ayodhya were heartbroken. They could not accept this decision, and many of them followed Ram, hoping he would return. Ram, Sita, and Lakshman left the palace and walked away from the city, leaving behind comfort, power, and royal life. And King Dashrath watched them go, his eyes filled with tears and his heart full of pain. And as Ram stepped into the forest, a new chapter began, a journey of sacrifice, strength, and destiny that would soon change everything.
Chapter 5. Life in the Forest, Surpnakha, and Sita's Kidnapping. Ram, Sita, and Lakshman moved deeper into the forest, leaving behind the comfort of Ayodhya. The sounds of the city faded, and the quiet beauty of nature surrounded them. Tall trees, flowing rivers, and open skies became their new home. They built a small hut and began a simple life in the forest. Ram remained calm and steady, accepting everything with peace. Sita showed strength and patience, adapting to the new life with grace. Lakshman stayed alert at all times, protecting them with complete devotion. Days passed in peace, and the forest slowly became a place of comfort for them. But this peace was not meant to last. One day, a woman named Surpnakha entered the forest. She was the sister of Ravan, the powerful king of Lanka. When she saw Ram, she was drawn to his strength and appearance. She approached him and expressed her desire to marry him. Ram listened calmly and replied with gentle words. He told her that he was already married and pointed towards Sita. Surpnakha's feelings quickly changed. Her desire turned into anger and jealousy. In her rage, she tried to harm Sita. When Lakshman saw this, he stepped forward immediately. To protect Sita, he punished Surpnakha and drove her away. Hurt and humiliated, Surpnakha ran to her brother Ravan. She told him everything about Ram, his strength, and Sita's beauty. As Ravan listened, a dangerous thought entered his mind. At first it was anger, a desire for revenge, but soon it turned into something more, an obsession with Sita. Ravan decided to act. He made a plan with a demon named Maricha, who had the power to change his form. He ordered him to turn into a golden deer and distract Ram. Soon a beautiful golden deer appeared near their hut. It shone like gold and moved gracefully through the forest. Sita saw the deer and was amazed by its beauty. She asked Ram to catch it for her. Ram agreed and went after the deer, asking Lakshman to stay and protect Sita. He followed the deer deeper into the forest. After some time, a loud cry echoed through the trees. It sounded like Rama's voice calling for help. Sita became afraid and asked Lakshman to go and help him. But Lakshman tried to calm her, saying that Ram could not be harmed so easily. But Sita's fear grew stronger, and finally Lakshman agreed to leave. Before leaving, he drew a protective line around the hut and told Sita not to cross it. This line later became known as the Lakshman Rekha. As soon as Lakshman left, Ravan came near the hut, disguised as a holy sage. He asked for alms, speaking in a calm and humble voice. Sita stepped forward to offer him food, and in that moment, she crossed the protective line. Suddenly, Ravan revealed his true form. Before Sita could react, he captured her and lifted her into his flying chariot. Sita cried out for help, but no one was near. As Ravan flew across the sky towards Lanka, a great bird named Jatayu saw what was happening. Though old, Jatayu was brave. He tried to stop Ravan and fought with all his strength. But Ravan was powerful. He defeated Jatayu and continued his journey. When Ram and Lakshman returned, the forest felt empty. Sita was gone. Ram stood still, his heart filled with pain and shock. The calm prince of Ayodhya had now become a man searching for his lost love, and a powerful conflict had begun, one that would soon shake the entire world.
Chapter 6. Rama's search for Sita and meeting Hanuman. The forest felt silent, but inside Ram there was deep pain. Sita was gone. Ram walked through the trees, calling her name again and again, his voice filled with sorrow. Lakshman stayed close to him, trying to give him strength, but the loss was heavy. As they continued their search, they came across a wounded bird lying on the ground. It was Jatayu. With great effort, Jatayu opened his eyes and spoke slowly. He told Ram that Ravan had taken Sita and carried her toward Lanka. After sharing this truth, Jatayu took his last breath. Ram felt deep respect for him. He performed his final rites with care and honor, like a son would do for his father. The search continued, and Ram and Lakshman moved deeper into unknown lands. The path was long, and the journey was filled with challenges. One day, they met a strange being named Kabandha. He attacked them suddenly, but Ram and Lakshman fought with courage and defeated him. As Kabandha was freed from his curse, he spoke with gratitude and gave them important guidance. He told them to go toward the region of Kishkindha and seek help from the monkey king Sugriv. Following this advice, they continued their journey and finally reached the area near Kishkindha. It was a land of mountains, forests, and hidden strength. There, someone was watching them carefully. He was strong, intelligent, and full of energy. His name was Hanuman. Hanuman was a loyal follower of Sugriv. When he saw Ram and Lakshman, he approached them with respect and humility. He spoke gently and asked who they were and what had brought them to this place. Ram spoke calmly and explained his situation. He spoke about Sita, her kidnapping, and his search to find her. As Hanuman listened, something changed within him. He felt a deep connection and recognized that Ram was not just a prince but someone divine. With folded hands, Hanuman bowed before Rama. In that moment, a bond was formed, a bond of devotion and trust. Hanuman then took Ram and Lakshman to meet Sugriv. Sugriv was living in fear, hiding from his own brother Bali, who had taken his kingdom and forced him into exile. Ram listened to Sugriva's story with understanding. Both of them had lost something dear. Sugriva had lost his kingdom and Ram had lost Sita. They decided to help each other. Ram promised to defeat Bali and return the kingdom to Sugriva. In return, Sugriva promised to help Ram find Sita. Soon, Ram faced Bali. With his strength and skill, he defeated him, and Sugriv became the king of Kishkindha once again. Now it was time to search for Sita. Sugriv sent his armies in all directions to look for her. Among them, Hanuman was chosen for a special mission, to go toward the south where Sita was believed to be. Before he left, Ram gave Hanuman his ring. It was a symbol of trust and a message for Sita. Hanuman held the ring with devotion. His purpose was clear, to find Sita no matter how far he had to go. And as he prepared for the journey ahead, a new chapter began. A chapter of courage, devotion, and extraordinary strength.
Chapter 7. Hanuman's journey to Lanka and meeting Sita. Hanuman stood on the shore of the great ocean, looking toward the unknown land of Lanka. The distance was vast, and the path was filled with uncertainty. But his mind was steady, and his heart was full of devotion to Ram. He remembered Rama's words and held the ring close to him. It was not just a ring, but a symbol of trust and purpose. With great focus and strength, Hanuman prepared himself. He gathered his energy, stood firm, and then leapt into the sky. The ocean stretched below him, endless and deep. The wind rushed past him as he moved forward with determination. During his journey, many challenges came in his path. At one point, a powerful being rose from the ocean and offered him rest, but Hanuman did not stop. His mission was clear, and he could not delay. Further ahead, a powerful being tried to block his way, testing his strength and intelligence. Hanuman used both his power and his wisdom to overcome every obstacle. Finally, after a long journey, he reached the island of Lanka. Lanka was grand and shining, filled with tall buildings and guarded by strong warriors. It was the kingdom of Ravan, rich in power and wealth. Hanuman made himself small and entered the city quietly. He moved carefully through the streets, searching for Sita. He looked in many places but could not find her. At last, he reached a beautiful garden known as Ashok Vatika. There, under a tree, he saw a woman sitting alone, surrounded by guards. She looked weak but calm, her face filled with quiet strength. It was Sita. Hanuman watched her with respect and patience. He waited for the right moment to speak. When the guards moved away, he came closer and softly spoke the name of Ram. Sita looked up in surprise. The moment she saw the ring, her eyes filled with tears. She understood that Ram had sent him. Hanuman spoke gently, telling her that Ram was searching for her and would soon come to rescue her. Sita felt hope again after so much pain and waiting. She gave Hanuman a message for Ram and a jewel from her hair as a sign of trust. Hanuman bowed with respect and prepared to leave. But before leaving Lanka, he decided to show his strength. He allowed himself to be captured and was taken to Ravan's court. There, he spoke fearlessly, warning Ravan to return Sita and avoid destruction. Ravan became angry and ordered punishment. Hanuman's tail was set on fire, but with his strength and courage, he broke free and leapt across the city. With his burning tail, he set Lanka on fire. Flames spread across the city and fear filled the air. After this, Hanuman returned safely, crossing the ocean once again. When he reached Ram, he bowed and gave him Sita's message and the jewel. Ram held it with emotion, knowing that Sita was waiting for him. The time for action had come, and soon a great journey would begin, a journey toward Lanka and toward a war that would decide everything. Chapter 8: The Bridge to Lanka and the Beginning of War. After hearing Hanuman's words, Ram stood silent for a moment. The pain in his heart remained, but now it was joined by determination. He knew where Sita was, and he knew what he had to do. The ocean stood between him and Lanka, vast and powerful. Crossing it would not be easy. Ram gathered his allies, Sugriv, Hanuman, and the great army of Vanaras. Together they stood on the shore, looking toward Lanka. Ram prayed to the ocean, asking for a path. But the ocean remained still and gave no answer. Seeing this, Ram prepared to act. His patience turned into strength, and his focus became firm. At that moment, the ocean responded. It revealed a way to cross and guided them to build a bridge. Under the leadership of Nala and Nila, the Vanara army began the work. They carried huge stones, lifted mountains, and worked with great energy. With faith and unity, they placed each stone into the sea. Slowly, a path began to form over the water. This bridge came to be known as Ram Setu. It was not just a bridge of stones, but a bridge of devotion, effort, and belief. When the bridge was complete, Ram and his army crossed the ocean and reached Lanka. The land of Ravan stood before them, strong and guarded. Before the battle began, Ram gave Ravana one last chance. He sent a message asking him to return Sita and avoid war. But Ravana refused. His pride was too strong and his mind was filled with arrogance. With no other path left, the war began. The battlefield of Lanka was filled with warriors from both sides. The Vanara army fought with courage and unity, while Ravana's army stood strong with power and skill. The sound of weapons filled the air, and the clash of forces shook the ground. Many great warriors came forward. Ravana's brother Kumbhakarna, huge and powerful, entered the battlefield and caused great destruction, but he was finally defeated. Ravana's son Indrajit, skilled in illusion and warfare, fought with intelligence and strength. He created many challenges, but he too was defeated. On the other side, warriors like Hanuman, Angad, and Lakshman fought with courage and loyalty. Each moment of the battle brought new challenges and tested their strength and determination. As the war continued, it became clear that this was not just a battle of power, but a battle between dharma and adharma, between truth and pride. And soon the final confrontation would come, a moment that would decide the fate of Lanka and bring this great war to an end. Chapter 9: The Final Battle and the Defeat of Ravan. The war in Lanka had reached its most intense stage. The battlefield was filled with dust, sound, and movement. Warriors from both sides had fought with courage, and many had already fallen. Ram stood calm but firm. His purpose was clear. This was not just a battle to win, but a battle to restore dharma. On the other side stood Ravan, powerful, proud, and unshaken. He had lost many of his greatest warriors, his brother Kumbhakarna and his son Indrajit, but his pride still remained strong. At last, the moment came. Ram and Ravan stood face to face. The air grew still, as if the world itself was watching. Ravan stepped forward with great power, his presence filled with confidence and anger. Ram stood steady, calm and focused. The battle between them began. Arrows moved through the sky like flashes of light, weapons collided with force, and the ground shook with every movement. Ravan used his strength and knowledge of warfare, attacking again and again with great intensity. But Ram remained balanced, his mind clear, his actions precise. The battle continued for a long time, each moment filled with tension. At one point, Ravan used powerful weapons that seemed impossible to defeat, but Ram faced every challenge with courage and control. Sage wisdom guided him, and his focus never broke. Finally, Ram prepared for the final strike. He raised his bow and called upon a divine weapon filled with power and purpose. With full concentration, he released the arrow. The arrow moved with great speed and struck Ravan. Ravan stood still for a moment and then slowly fell to the ground. The battle ended. Silence spread across the battlefield. The mighty king of Lanka had been defeated. But Ram did not celebrate with pride. He looked at Ravan with respect. He understood that Ravan was not just an enemy, but also a learned and powerful being who had lost his path because of pride and desire. With the fall of Ravan, the war came to an end. Soon after, Sita was brought before Ram. After a long time, they stood face to face again. The moment was filled with emotion, but also with silence. The journey was not over yet. The war had ended, but the story of Ram still had one more important chapter to unfold.
Chapter 10. Return to Ayodhya and the meaning of Ramayan.
After the fall of Ravan, the battlefield became silent. The long war had ended, and the path of dharma had been restored. Ram stood calm, without pride, knowing that his purpose had been fulfilled. Sita was brought before him after a long time of separation. The moment was filled with deep emotion, but also with quiet understanding. Soon the time came to leave Lanka. Vibhishan, the brother of Ravan, who had chosen the path of truth, was made the new king of Lanka. Under his rule, the kingdom would now follow dharma and justice. Ram, Sita, Lakshman and their companions began their journey back to Ayodhya. They travelled in the Pushpak Viman, a divine flying chariot. As they moved through the sky, they saw forests, rivers and lands they had once crossed during their journey. Each place carried a memory of struggle, courage and growth. After 14 long years, Ayodhya was waiting. When they finally reached the city, the people were filled with joy beyond words. Lamps were lit everywhere, streets were decorated, and hearts were filled with happiness. The return of Ram brought light back to Ayodhya. Soon, Ram was crowned king. This marked the beginning of Ram Rajya, a time of peace, justice and harmony. The kingdom flourished, and the people lived with trust and contentment. Ram ruled with wisdom and fairness. He listened to his people, respected dharma, and always chose what was right, even when it was difficult. His life became an example, not just of power, but of responsibility, sacrifice, and truth. The story of Ramayan is not only about a journey or a war. It is a story of choices, about doing what is right even when it is hard. Ram showed that true strength is not only in fighting, but in patience, control and understanding. Sita showed courage and dignity even in the most difficult moments. Lakshman showed loyalty and devotion without hesitation. Hanuman showed what true devotion looks like, pure, selfless and full of faith. And Ravan showed that even great power and knowledge can lead to destruction if pride and desire take control. The Ramayan teaches that life is a balance between right and wrong, and every choice we make shapes our path. It reminds us that dharma, truth, and inner strength are the real foundations of a meaningful life. And even today, the story of Ram continues to guide people, not just as a tale from the past, but as a path to understand life itself.